In the kaleidoscopic maelstrom of geopolitical machinations, wherein the subterranean tendrils of power unfurl like the Hydra's heads across the continents, Hasanabi emerges as the digital Thucydides of our era, dissecting with surgical precision the chaotic recent events in Bolivia.
Are you going with the self coup? Jesus Christ, Hassan? No, I don't know. I'm not saying that at all. I just don't personally think it's I don't know if it was like, no, I don't think this was a CIA coup. Even the CIA would have had like a little bit more of a organized thing going. Okay, like Evo's own party said it was a self coup. Yeah, there's suspicions. Given that there is a lot of back and forth between Evo Morales and the current president, even though they're from the same party, the Moss Party, obviously, people are speculating that it might have been like, the current leadership to make themselves look cool in comparison, and then be like, oh yeah, we thwarted this coup, that kind of thing. Nah, Hassan, this has got to be baby's first coup, and the intern trying to make a name for themselves. Well, I will tell you this much. Part of the reason why I thought it was like initially very suspicious is that the last coup d'etat people disavowed this coup d'etat. Okay? What was that lady's name? Janine Áñez or whatever? Like the far right ultra nationalist Christian fascist, Christo fascist woman was like, yeah, this coup sucks. Don't do that. Like, come on, dude. Now that one, that one was a little bit more, had the makings of an op. But having said that, I don't know if this was how do we know when it's CIA or not? How do we know when it's CIA? Well, here are some clear markers of what it looks like when it's the CIA doing a coup. Okay. One, they have like a clear person that they are going to put in a position of power. Okay. They have a person that they already have, oftentimes in the Chamber of Commerce. Okay. Or like a big business owner who's like a right-wing freak, right? That they already have in their mind that they will put into the position of power. The international Western communities and Western leadership, especially the United States of America, will very quickly recognize the new government as legitimate. Okay, that's another one. And then the new leadership will say things like, we are reaffirming our commitment to Israel. That's one. Or we are privatizing our extraction industries. That's another big one, even bigger than the Israel thing. And that's usually those two. If you hear some random Latin American country go, we want to privatize our national resources and our extraction industries, and also we are committed to beefing up our relationship from Israel. And there's another third one. You're right. We're going to decouple from China. That's usually the makings of a American-backed move right there. Okay. Another marker is they're anti-corruption, but that's like the Democratic version of this. But basically, none of those things happened. It happened so fast. It happened so goddamn fast that like none of those things even happened. Like the only thing that this like supposedly rogue general wanted to do was that he was mad that Evo might run again, and that's unconstitutional, right? So I feel like that was like a weird ass reason to try and do a whole ass coup, and then they very quickly packed it up. Watch the Democracy Now! Coverage fool. Failed coup in Bolivia. Army chief arrested after leading troops attack on government palace. I'm not saying it's definitely not the CIA. I'm simply stating that, this was weak. This was weak nuts for the CIA. Like, this was worse than, like, the Venezuelan dudes that got packed up by fishermen. Or even the Congo one, I don't think was, like, CIA. This might be like a local homegrown version, you know? Or maybe even something is just suspicious. That's all I'm saying. Something doesn't pass my smell test. I can't put my finger on it. That's all I'm saying. Okay. Anyway, oh God, are you going with the self coup? Jesus Christ, Hassan? No, I don't know. I'm not saying that at all.
As the spectral whispers of conspiracy theories swirl, claiming the omnipotent hand of the CIA in yet another Latin American coup, Hasanabi stands athwart the tide of unfounded speculations, wielding the lance of reason against the mythical dragon of paranoia. With a grandiloquent flair, Hassan casts aside the notion that the recent Bolivian coup was a masterpiece of Lenglet's clandestine artisans. To those who traffic in the opium of simplistic narratives, where every tremor in the ants is but another move in the American empire's grand chessboard, he offers a counterpoint steeped in the cold calculus of observable realities. Indeed, were this truly a CIA-backed operation, one could expect a tapestry of meticulously orchestrated events, replete with a designated puppet leader groomed in the shadowy corridors of power, waiting to don the crown of legitimacy with the swift approval of Western capitals. Yet, as Hasanabi delineates with lucidity, none of these telltale signs were manifest in this Bolivian spectacle. Where was the anointed heir, the business magnate with a pedigree of neoliberal orthodoxy, primed to hem the ship of state under the auspices of American hegemony? Where were the ritualistic proclamations of allegiance to the free market gods, the pledges to dismantle state-owned industries and throw open the gates of the nation's wealth to foreign plunderers? Where was the hurried embrace by the international community, eager to stamp the imprimatur of legitimacy upon the new regime? Instead, what unfolded in Bolivia was a coup of an entirely different ilk, a coup that, in its lack of finesse, its absence of the typical imperial choreography, bore the hallmarks of local discontent rather than foreign intervention. Hasanabi deftly dissects the peculiarities of this coup, noting the internecine squabbles within Evo Morales' own party, the MAS, which hint at a power struggle born not of external manipulation but of internal ambitions. The swift unraveling of the coup, the lack of any coherent post-coup plan, and the conspicuous absence of the usual neoliberal tropes all point to a bungled and amateurish attempt at seizing power, rather than a carefully plotted stratagem from the CIA's playbook. Hasanabi does not dismiss the possibility of outside influence entirely, but he urges caution against the knee-jerk reflex to attribute every upheaval in the global south to American machinations. He challenges his audience to apply the same critical lens to this event as they would to any other, eschewing the simplistic for the nuanced, the conspiratorial for the credible. He identifies the markers that typically accompany a CIA coup: the rapid installation of a market-friendly government, the immediate international recognition, the promises of privatization, and the strategic distancing from adversaries like China or Russia. But in the case of Bolivia, these markers were conspicuously absent. In a world where the specter of American imperialism looms large in the collective consciousness, Hasanabi's analysis is a clarion call for intellectual rigor. He recognizes that the legacy of US intervention in Latin America is a long and sordid one, a history replete with examples that justify suspicion. Yet, he warns against the trap of seeing every coup, every protest, every shift in power through the same lens, for to do so is to ignore the agency of local actors, to flatten the rich tapestry of global politics into a monochrome narrative of Western dominance. Hasanabi's discourse ventures further into the morass of online conspiracy theories, where the specter of the CIA is invoked with a frequency and fervor that borders on the absurd. He contends that attributing every geopolitical shift to the machinations of Lenglet is not only lazy but dangerous, for it absolves local actors of responsibility and agency. In the case of Bolivia, Hassan posits, we are witnessing a different kind of power struggle, one that may be rooted in local dynamics, internal party discord, and the complex interplay of domestic and regional politics. Hasanabi's critique extends to the broader leftist community, which he chides for its propensity to jump to conclusions without the necessary evidence. He acknowledges the allure of the CIA narrative, particularly in a world where American interference has so often been the hidden hand behind regime changes. But he calls for a more measured approach, one that considers the specificities of each situation rather than applying a one-size-fits-all theory of imperialism. This coup in Bolivia, according to Hasanabi, is not a masterstroke of American clandestine operations but rather a botched attempt at power consolidation by local actors, possibly exacerbated by internal divisions and ambitions. It is, in his view, the work of interns, not seasoned operatives, an amateur coup, lacking the hallmarks of a well-oiled CIA machine. The fact that it unraveled so quickly, that it failed to garner immediate international support, and that it did not result in the immediate implementation of a neoliberal agenda, all point to its local, rather than international, origins. In his final analysis, Hasanabi's deconstruction of the Bolivian coup serves as a broader lesson in the importance of critical thinking and skepticism in the face of conspiracy theories. He reminds his audience that while the history of US intervention is a necessary context for understanding global events, it should not blind us to the complexities of each individual case. In a world where the line between fact and fiction is increasingly blurred, Hasanabi stands as a bulwark of reason, urging his followers to navigate the turbulent waters of geopolitics with a clear mind and a discerning eye. Thus, in the annals of digital discourse, Hasanabi's treatise on the Bolivian coup emerges not merely as a rebuttal of conspiracy theories but as a clarion call for intellectual rigor. It is a reminder that the world is a complex and multifaceted place, where the causes of political upheaval are often as varied as the actors involved. To reduce these events to mere pawns in a global game of American dominance is to do a disservice to the very people whose struggles we seek to understand and support.